As a brief side note, I almost tried to come up with characters that would be the students of the current heroes, along with commissioning art of them, though I changed my mind about doing so. Eventually, however, I might make community posts of some of these characters I had in mind if I still decide to do so. I just didn't want to introduce that many original characters into a story, so I decided against doing it. Also, I didn't commission art of older versions of some of the characters, so that's why I still use their End of Z renders. Anyway, time to get to the main point of this video. After the 33rd World Martial Arts Tournament ended, the world has been in a time of peace. Master Roshi would have continued to be the Guardian of Earth, though he would also spend time with the other heroes between his Guardian duties. He would also have trained Panda after the tournament, like he had promised to. During this training, he probably would have taught her in the Turtle School way, along with training her in similar ways to how Kami used to train students of his. Pan being trained like this would also help fulfill a wish of Goku's in this timeline, which is that the next generation would be able to protect the Earth. After all, since he never died against Cell in this timeline, and didn't have to take over to defeat Buu, he would still want to pass the torch on to the next generation, which, speaking of Goku, he would work to fulfill his wish by continuing to train Earthlings, since he had started his own martial arts school. Though he also might continue the friendly rivalry he has with his wife, since Chi-Chi started her own martial arts school too. This also might mean Goku and Chi-Chi don't really have to worry about money, since both would be making money from their schools. Besides Chi-Chi, Goku would also have friendly rivalries with most of the Z fighters since they also started martial arts schools in his timeline. Like with Krillin, he took over the Turtle School after Master Roshi became the Guardian of Earth. The way he trained students likely would have been very similar to how Roshi trained him and Goku, since he seemed to be the one to utilize the turtle style the most. Of course, now that he is a turtle hermit, he might teach some of his own techniques as well, though he also ends up training his daughter, Marin, in martial arts. Speaking of his family, 18 would have continued to be the World Martial Arts Champion, since no one strong enough would appear to be able to challenge her for the title of champion. Only the heroes would be able to beat her, but we've seen how that went in the last tournament, with them willingly throwing the match for 18 to win. As for how long 18 would keep participating in these tournaments, it's hard to say. She'd probably just do it until she no longer needs the money. Which, if Krillin is also making money from his martial arts school, that might come sooner rather than later. I'd only see Krillin being able to make money from his school if 18 made him charge his students to begin their training with him. I don't see it being Krillin's idea to charge them money to train there. Then as for Tien and Shatu, they would continue to run the new Crane School. Since they have this school, they might be less of loners, and hang out with the other heroes more often. Other than that, their teachings would be in the Crane style, minus the evil techniques and brutal methods they were taught from Master Shen and Mercenary Tao. Instead, they might teach some of the techniques they know and have come up with. Next, with Yamcha, he would have continued to run his Wolf School as well, which, Por would be a teacher there too. While Yamcha teaches the fighting techniques, Por would be able to teach them shape-shifting. Though unlike Krillin and Goku, he wouldn't be made to charge his students to train in his school. After all, he's married to Bulma in this timeline, and Capsule Corporation makes more than enough money for him and his family. Then with Piccolo, he would have kept up the school at the behest of Chi-Chi and Gohan, though he rarely takes students in comparison to the others since he likes to be alone most of the time. At some point, he probably would have trained Pan like how he trained Gohan, so he might claim her as a student too. Though even when not training her, he would still come and visit Gohan and his family often. Speaking of Gohan and his family, since Videl still trains in this timeline, she probably would have started a martial arts school too. Though she and Gohan would both be instructors at it, they might teach their own fighting style to their students, which would be like a combination of Gohan and Videl's fighting styles. Of course, Pan would have trained alongside them as well at some point. Regardless, when Gohan isn't training people, he likely keeps up his studies, since he still wants to be a scholar. As for Pan, when she is eventually old enough, I can see her starting a martial arts school of her own. Not only is she the daughter of 2 martial arts school instructors, but she's also the granddaughter of 2 World Martial Arts Tournament champions. So, it would be easy for her to advertise and attract people to join her school. The style she teaches might be a blend of all the ones she has learned from her family and friends. The only style I don't see her replicating or teaching anything of is Hercules. As mentioned before, Marin would have trained with both of her parents, though she could also try starting a school of her own eventually. I could only see her doing this since she is close with both Pan and Bola. So, when they start schools of their own, Marin would likely be inspired to do the same. So, she would have a friendly rivalry with both Bola and Pan. Speaking of Bola, she would have learned how to fight from Yamcha and Trunks, though, like Marin, she could have been inspired by Pan to start a martial arts school of her own as well. It's hard to say if they would have done this, though, since Marin easily could have followed Krillin in line of being the next Turtle Hermit, while Bola could become an instructor and the eventual leader at Yamcha's school if she wanted. As for Trunks, he would have similar opportunities to Bola, since he could also become a teacher in Yamcha's Wolf School, though he would also have a friendly rivalry with Goten, since they have been close friends forever. Even Goten himself could either start a school of his own or eventually take over Goku or Chi-Chi's school, though I think it would be more interesting to see him start his own, so that there are more options out there. Basically, the point is that because of all the heroes' influence on each other, they might all be inspired to start martial arts schools of their own. Of course, with the Z Fighters being the ones to train people, the fighters of Earth could become far stronger than usual. Lastly, with Master Roshi, he would continue to be the Guardian of Earth. I don't see it being a position he would give up anytime soon, especially since he seemingly can't die of old age. I don't think he's going to step down as Guardian in the foreseeable future. However, like how he offered to train Pan, I could see him training others of the next generation he finds worthy enough. This way, the next generation can get stronger to protect the Earth from any future threats, without him and the other Z Fighters being the ones to save the day. This doesn't mean he would slack on his training or wouldn't help them out if they needed it. He would still train to help them if they needed it, but if they can solve the problem on their own, he would prefer they do that. After all, the Z Fighters we know aren't always going to be around to save the next generation from any threats they might face.